So I hope we're not lost the people during the task. So your presentations, who will start? Okay. I think you are free to present. So okay, first things come first. So Austrian school.
Okay, so we've researched a lot of materials, and we decided to split our speech by 7 people, so every person of our group will participate. Well, I'll start with a little introduction. Okay, the Austrian School of Economics is actually a tradition of economic thought that started in Vienna in the late 19th century. It began actually with Karl Menger, whose book Principles of Economy, or Economics, I guess, in 1871 or something like that, marked a turning point. And Menger actually introduced the idea that value is not actually objective, or it's not based only on production costs, but it is rather subjective and usually shaped by how individuals perceive this usefulness. And later, thinkers such as Eugen Beverg, and and Ludwig von Mises, they presented the idea, they actually extended the idea of Menger, and they made the Austrian school one of the most influential schools of liberal economic nowadays. So
So why did it appear? At the time, economics was dominated by the classical school, which relied on labor and production theories, and by the German historical school, which focused on collecting statistics. The Austrians argued that both approaches missed the key point. Economics is about people making choices. They wanted to explain markets through human actions, not through abstract models. That's why Austrian economics is sometimes called the science of praxeology, the study of purposeful human behavior.
The Austrian school emphasizes several central principles. First, the subjective theory of value, meaning that the value of goods depends on the individual's needs and preferences. Second, methodological individualism, analyzing economics by studying decisions of individuals, not by treating society as one big unit. Third, a strong belief in free markets where voluntary exchange and competition bring efficiency. And fourth, a deep skepticism about government intervention because the state cannot collect enough information to control or predict economic outcomes better than free individuals can.
In the 20th century, Austrian economists gained even more attention. Ludwig von Mises became famous for proving the impossibility of rational economic calculation under socialism, because without free prices, planners cannot know what resources are worth. Friedrich Hayek, who later received the Nobel Prize, showed how markets act as an information system, coordinating millions of decisions through price signals. They argued that central planning always leads to inefficiency and a loss of freedom. Their works influenced global debates about capitalism, socialism, and democracy.
Okay, and now some weak side of the theory. Sometimes it's not perfect and inflexible. For example, one limitation is that it avoids mathematics and statistics, so its theories cannot be tested within their models. Predictions also less precise, Another issue is that it rejects many standard macroeconomic tools like ADAS or ISLM, which makes it harder to use in modern policy making. Also, it assumes government should do very little, but in practice, many economies need at least some regulations, especially during crisis. Finally, by focusing so much on individuals, it often ignores broader social or international factors.
But even with these limits, some Austrian principles could be very useful for Ukraine. For example, we could simplify the process of opening and running a business because a bureaucracy often blocks entrepreneurship. We could reduce unnecessary state control and encourage fair competition, letting the market decide winners and losers. We could focus on supporting innovation, creativity, and small businesses that respond quickly to people's needs. And importantly, we could build trust in markets instead of relying on centralized decisions or corruption-prone state system.
So, to conclude, the Austrian School of Economics is not only a set of theories, but a way of looking at the economy through the eyes of individual making choices. It highlights the subjectivity of value, the power of free markets, and the limits of government planning. Yes, it has weaknesses, but it also offers inspiration for countries like Ukraine that want to strengthen freedom, innovation, and growth.
Okay, thanks. So I assume that that's all. Yeah, so I'm not interrupting in the middle. Okay, so that actually was the point that I tried to say that it's not only like the very technical approach, then you can calculate and predict everything, that there is always some unexpected part, and they also insist that the influence of the government should be like minimized. We should believe in people, let them do what they want, what they have to do. Okay, thanks. So if second group has any, I don't know, questions to the first group, you can ask them now or start your presentations. No, yeah. But at least if I force you to read about this. Okay, so second group, your presentation. Floor is yours.
So, understanding behavioral economics, explain how psychology, social, and emotional factors influence our economic choices. What is behavioral economics? Behavioral economics is a field that combines insights from psychology and economics to understand why people sometimes make decisions they defy traditional economic theories of pure rationality. It delves into the why behind our financial choices, often revealing fascination patterns of human behavior beyond pure rationality. The economics assumes individuals are perfectly rational, always making choices that maximize their self-interest. Behavioral economics challenges this assumption, recognizing the complexities of human cognition and emotion. Interdisciplinary approach by integrating psychology, society, um, sociology and cognitive. У мене проблеми трошки з англійським на фоні німецької мови. Я взагалі все забув. Science and behavioral economics provides a richer, more realistic understanding of decision-making processes in various economics contexts, from shopping to saving. Pioneer of the field. The foundation of behavioral economics was laid by brilliant minds who dared to question conversational wisdom, bringing psychology realism into the realm of economic theory. Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman, right? Uh-huh. This Planerian duo extensively studied heuristics, mental shortcuts, and cognitive blazes. Their work led to the development of prospect theory, which explains how individuals evaluate potential gains and losses differently, often leading to irrational choices. Herbert Simon introduced the concept of bounded rationality, arguing that people have limited information, com comp computational capacity, and time. Because of these limitations, individuals often satisfies seek satisfactory rather than optimal solution, rather than always optimizing their decisions. Richard Thaler. Thaler built upon the work of his predecessors, focusing on applying behavioral insights to real-world problems. His work popularizing concepts like mental recording and nudges, making behavioral economics highly applicable to policy and practical decision-making. Okay, concepts and achievements. Behavioral economics has unveiled several powerful concepts that helps us understand the people element in financial decision, moving beyond simple supply and demand. Prospect theory. People feel the pain of a loss more intensely than the pleasure of an equivalent gain, loss aversion. Decisions are also heavily influenced by how choices are presented or framed. Heuristics and bases. And there are systemic deviations from rational judgment. Explaces include unhurrying, rely too heavily on the first piece of information, availability bias, overestimating events based on how easily they come to mind, and overconfidence. And neutral theory. This concept involves subtly altering the way choices are presented to encourage individuals to make better decisions without restricting their freedom of choices. Think of it as a choice architecture. Impact and applications. Behavioral economics has revolutionized revolutionized how we think about economic models and tangible effects on policy, marketing, and public welfare. Challenging assumptions. It significantly challenged the simplifying assumptions of classical economic models, such as perfect information and fully rationally, making economic theories more realistic and reflective of human nature and real-world influence due to its empirical methods, experiments, field studies. Behavioral economics had profoundly influenced various sectors, from designing more effective public health campaigns to shaping consumers' marketing strategies and governmental regulations. Thank you for your attention.
That was so enthusiastic. Okay, so I hope that the whole group participated in this work. Yeah, of course, I will believe. So actually, that's like somehow a continuation of these Austrian beliefs that human beings are actually should be taken into consideration when we are talking about the economy and decision making. And for example, Great Britain take it so seriously that firstly, they organize the Department of Behavioral Economics and they started actually with the idea that this department will be not available, responsible for persuading people to pay taxes, because it's always like, it's not pleasant thing. Yeah, it's always stressful. And they design some communication messages and how to do it in the way that not to stress people, but just help them to move through this process as easy as possible. And afterwards, they actually transform it. It's not not the first in the separate department, then as a consultancy, so it's now operates separately and help people and organization to use this ideas of behavioral economics in their businesses and their life, including the state agencies. So sometimes it's really important. Actually, that's all about how we make decisions, and that we're not so rational thinking as we think we are. And if you're interested, I believe it was the perfect course on Prometheus, but years ago. I don't know if it's now available about like critical thinking and behavioral economics. It was really interesting. I even tried with the people like some tricks that they propose. So to do, for example, if you buy, I don't know, 10 pairs of exactly same thing, I don't know, socks, for example, and put it them from first to 10th, and we'll ask different people that which quality is the best, like test our samples and said if there is any difficulty, because we want to choose the best one. The last one sample always be the best in the, so try if you want. It's going to be 5, so it's worked. So it's just, it's not exactly about manipulation, but understanding how does it work. So perfect. I will assume that all of you work on economic theories. The next time Nazar will receive automatically his grade and somebody else will present from the group. You will like, we should divide this struggling among others. Okay, moving back to the GDP. I still have something to talk about. No. Oh my God, I can find this big green button of presenting now. Yes, that is. So let's talk about the GDP. This is this expenditure approach here, not added value, but this is the most widespread approach to calculation, not to understanding, yeah, like why this added value is important, why we should care about not only how much or how many of something do we produce there, but also what we produce, why this added value is essential for economic growth, and sometimes to change the general patterns and move economy to these more added value production enterprises needed political will, because actually as soon as it's like fast money, it's easier like to continue to do what we previously did and receive like stable receive the money. Even so that's really an issue. Like in Ukraine, for example, we're speaking with and working with in Poltava region with the farmers, and for them it wasn't like the obvious option. So they said, okay, so if we have the wheat and we sell the wheat, so we have some amount of money. That's what we did this year, what we continue doing like for years. So why should we change something? That's it. And now we move to the next, to the GDP. So the first point that connect, as you remember, we have this triple approach to calculating the GDP or understanding the GDP, and we can also think about GDP, like national income. Yeah, so that's why here in this slide and always we will talk not only about the GDP, but also stress that this is our national income. It's why not I, because we have I reserved for investing. So that's it. Be aware. And how we calculate. That's actually, you have already mentioned it today. Yes, so that's the GDP is equal consumption plus investments plus governmental spendings plus net export. So consumption, that's everything that we spend for consuming everything in the economy. Yeah, it's basically associated with the household. So everything that we consume. Yeah, so that's our spendings, and that we add in the GDP as consumption. The next, that spendings in producing something in the future, that actually we call investments. Yeah, so that's capital and everything in what we can invest money, that goes in this investment part. Then we go to another part of the spending. So with the first part of the spendings, yeah, that's household. Then business, and now the third but important player on this market, it's government. Yeah, and all governmental spendings here we should add to the GDP. What is important? Governmental spendings, that's everything that government spend to facilitate economic activities. Nothing that it gives just like the social component, like subsidies, pensions, and all other transfer. So they are not included in the governmental expenditures. Yes, so that's, we're not counted here because that's not lead to producing something. Yes, so that's just what we give to the people. We can afterward put see it in the consumption, yeah. So those transfers, but we're not included in governmental expenditures, but because it's not spending on something that we add to the economy. And the last one, net export. This is export minus import. Yeah, because import, that everything that we like buy to the economy, and export everything that we sell abroad. So this is the main quotation for the GDP. Almost the whole course, starting to this point, will be like more or less cycling around this GDP, and every time I will ask you the quotation for the GDP, what is the formula? So please be aware that this is consumption plus investments plus governmental expenditures and plus net export. So I think that it's like nothing extremely difficult. How we measure GDP and what for? Yes, so the first how and then what for. The first, you shouldn't be like very scared about how to calculate because it's generally made by special statistical services. We have, I think, in each country they gather all this information, calculated it, etc. You should be more aware how to use and how to interpret all this data. So we have actually GDP each year or each month that just publishing on the official websites, and it's actually reflect the market value of all these final goods and services produced within the country in a given period of time in prices of this year. Yeah, so that's we just assess everything in the moment and calculating our GDP in the prices of this year. Because just remind you, we're not calculating GDP like trying to add it liters to kilometers and to units. Yeah, we replace it with monetary components. So if we calculate GDP in current prices, in prices of period when it was calculated, this is nominal GDP. But if we want to understand what happens if our GDP is growing because of inflation, that means the prices goes up, go up, and this our nominal GDP is also grows up. Or we want, or it grows also because we produce more. Yeah, because like we are growing as an economy. In this case, we use a real GDP. Real GDP, then we calculate the GDP in the fixed price. If we simplify, very simplify their approach to calculation the GDP, it's actually what we produced, it's like quantities multiplied by prices. So if we have all quantities multiplied by prices of this year, that means that we calculated nominal GDP. If we fix the prices on 1 year, that's called based year, and multiplied it to the quantities on this year, next year, the year after that, we receive real GDP. This real GDP allows us to assess what is the reason of our GDP growth. Now we'll have the example. But for now, does it make sense? Oh, yes. Okay. I just think how to. Okay, let's start with calculation and then coming up with examples. So if we want to calculate the GDP, nominal GDP for year, anyway, 2020, let's make it for year 2020, as I mentioned here. How we will do this? Yeah, Nazar.
7 multiply 18 plus 10 multiply 3.
Exactly.
So
multiply 3. That's it. So that's give us something. You can calculate. That's the nominal GDP. If we want to calculate the nominal GDP for year 2018, that's like 4 multiply 15 plus 6 multiply 5. So as simple as it is, nominal GDP, we use this number. So it will be, let's
156.
56. So then, and if we calculate, let's say our nominal GDP for year 2017, it will be 3 multiplied
It will be 56.
156. Perfect. So we can think that we have just like perfect economic growth, yeah, like almost 3 times. But also, if we see the that means that if we think about this in reality, we have that we really produce more, so not produce here more, yeah, but here we produce less, but price is still growing. So for us, it's important to understand what is cause this huge GDP growth from year 17 to year 20, because we have inflation or because we really produce more. For this, we use our basic year. I choose basic year is 2017. So in reality, if you are like solving any problem, you have been given by the basic year. It's always mentioned. So the basic year is, in case like you are working with the real world statistic, it's always mentioned. So you shouldn't care why this statistic, I don't know, World Bank, National Statistic Agency choose this basic year for what reason. So they have their own methodology, they know how to do this. So the basic year is always given by definition, or by the, I don't know, a teacher, university, whoever else, or by the company who present this data. Usually it's not always around like 2010 or 2020. Sometimes it can be like before COVID, after the COVID, so different variations. It's important that if you compare, for example, real GDP of different countries, you should take into consideration that if you take this data from different sources, the basic year should be the same. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah? So you should take so the base year for comparison, like different countries, should be for all these countries 2017. Yeah. If it's different basic year, it's just for nothing. So let's calculate the real GDP for year 2020 if we know that the basic year is 2017. What we do? Yeah, Alexei?
I should just say basic calculation or explain it more deeply.
What we multiply
Because
what?
price of bread multiplied by quantity of bread, and
Okay. Then in more detail, which price, what quantity?
Okay, 7 multiplied by 18, it will be 126, yes, plus 10 multiplied by 3, and it will be 30. And the real GDP of 2020 will be 156.
In this case, our nominal GDP and real GDP for year 2020 will be the same. The idea here was that we fix the price. Yeah, and we calculate the GDP, real GDP. That means that we excluded the inflation. Yeah, we excluded change of prices. We calculate what we produce in this year 2020 in prices of basic year, in prices of year 2017.
So we have to substitute from 156, 56.
No, let's make it simpler, not without. So it will be prices of year 2017 multiplied to quantities of year 2020.
54. 5 multiplied by.
And that will
54 plus 69.
Okay. I hope that you are correct. So I'm too tired to calculate. Yeah, but I hope that. So that's the real GDP. And now, if you compare, so the idea here that you try to understand that if we include both, inflation and growth of production, we are almost triple our GDP. If we exclude the inflation, we understand that the economic growth, the real growth of the GDP, actually not as massive, it's not as expressive, so it's like about 10%, even less. So that's the idea why we need a real GDP to understand what is happened with economy. You always will have these difference. So the first, is it clear how we calculate it? Perfect. For the basic year, what we can say about nominal and real GDP, my God, for basic year?
It will equal to nominal GDP of that year.
Perfect. That's the first. So, okay, next, before we move to the example, I want to show you now any bank GDP. Now, give me a second. Please unfroze. Yes. Because as usual, I have too many windows open at the same time. I cannot avoid it. So now we have GDP, I don't know even which, in current US dollars. Yes, so that's mean that current US dollars, what does it mean? It's nominal or it's real? Let's read the statistic. What does it mean nominal? Maybe. What, Nazar? One more time.
At this moment?
Yeah, at this moment. So current, it's also in this in current prices, in the prices of this year. So that's what GDP, nominal or real?
Nominal.
Nominal, perfect. GDP in constant US dollars, constant 2000. Oh my God, no, not this. Okay, just in constant 2015 US dollars. What does it mean?
It's real GDP, and basis year is 2015.
Exactly. Perfect. And we have here, as soon as I choose like world GDP, GDP and current LCU. LCU, that's a local currency unit. So hryvnia for Ukraine, I don't know, dollars for United States, zloty for Poland, euro for Germany, that's it. And so that's the most important. Yes, so that's nominal, real, and current local currency units. So you cannot compare zloty with, I don't know, any with rubles and whatever, I don't remember, all other currencies. Perfect. Now, let's coming back to the real world example from my side, and then that was your turn to do this. And then like we will have a break somehow, somewhere. I try to do it as fast as possible. So that's coming. That's our statistic, real world statistic for the United States. Because they have like this huge range of statistics, and we have nominal GDP in 1950 and nominal GDP in 2019. The difference between those two GDPs are like times. Yeah, that we have like billions and billions. I'm really bad in reading all these huge numbers, but there are times. That means that actually the GDP from 1950 to 2090 grows how many times? Divide, please.
A lot.
A lot, yeah. It's so economically based answer. It grows a lot.
A lot of numbers, a lot of numbers. 5, 8. 74.7.
Yeah, so 74 times. And it's a lot, a lot of numbers. So and it's it's perfect for United States. Of course, we can be proud of them. The problem here is that we actually don't know if that grows because they have inflation. They have like they produce a lot, or they just have more people. Yeah, so what influence and for which extent? Yeah, not just we understand that like we can assume that every of these factors, each of these factors actually influence. So our task is trying to estimate what happens in reality. That's what happens if we took the real GDPs. That's all open statistic. Here, the base year is 2012, and the real GDP in 1950 and the real GDP in 2090 now is not as significantly changed. So what is the difference now in times? About 8, I stop. Oh, so 9. Who can divide? This ability, this opportunity to divide.
What should we write?
The same. So now, like the real GDP of 1 year to another year, and we will understand for which extent the economy of United States grows because of increase of production.
Okay.
So we exclude this growing of prices because we understand that $1 in 1950 and $1 now, it's like two different dollars. It's like we cannot compare them.
Just a second. 6, 7, 2.
Tarot cards, okay. So what are expectations?
Wait, it didn't grow actually.
Why? If we divide it, 19,031 divided to 9. How it's if it's not the same numbers, even
Yeah, but it's like 0.1.
why? It's 8.3. If you divide
Oh, yeah, I confused the numbers, the places of the numbers.
your economic forecast. It's super. Okay, so that means that if we take into consideration all factors like just inflation, increase in production, all those people who we suppose arrived to the United States, the GDP increase for these 75 years, yeah, more or less, not almost 80 years, yeah, 70 years. Okay, in 74 times. Now, we can say that actually, because of the fact that United States is produced more goods and services, yeah, they increase the GDP in 8 times for these 70 years. It still looks good, yeah, but not that impressive as 74 times. So this knowledge now give us idea about like real economic growth. Because of course, if we have hyperinflation, so we have like our GDP will skyrocket, but that doesn't mean that something like good, that the things goes well. So I even calculate. Now the last part of this. Where is here? GDP per capita. GDP per capita with the base year allows us to understand what happened in the economy, why the economy grows, because we have more people. Because you remember this like productive possibility frontier, we can produce more, we can have more people. Yeah, so that's also the option. The GDP growth, if we're coming back, yeah, that's the just country GDP divided to the population. It's simple as it is. So we take our GDP, you can find the data just GDP per capita, also with a fixed year. We should take this in the fixed year as a real GDP per capita because it also allows us exclude this inflation. Or you can just take real GDP and divide it by the number of people in those years. Yeah, so that's also. And now we can, again, calculate and understand the difference, the types of difference between those two GDPs. And that give us next clue. We will understand for which extent United States economy grows because they not like work better or more efficient, or just because they have more people who are working in the economy. So from these 8 times that the economy grows,
Like 4 times that they grow from capita.
Half of this growth actually, it's not because they like work better, but just because they have more people. So that's what give us all those numbers, and that's how we can think about this like economic development in the long run, in the shorter run. So what are the reasons of our economic growth? And we can find out that, for example, our nominal GDP is growing, but our real GDP at the same time is declining because we produce less, and when we exclude inflation, we have, and that's like the bad sign for economy. It's a sign of the crisis. About calculation, so you cannot calculate the GDP for the country by yourself. You don't have the enough data, at least. Statistic agencies, they also have their special methodics how to do it correctly, because when we calculated and trying to compare different GDPs in economies, especially if we try to calculate real GDPs, yeah? It's much more complicated, because we understand that some goods and services that were produced in 1950, now we don't need those goods and services, but we have something else. So that's, I don't know, like phones, some technical features, whatever. So that's not as easy to calculate. And statistical agencies, they create a methodology, how to use this, how to calculate it. So that's a really complicated process. So the first question, do you understand how to use and interpret all this data? Perfect. So now we can check it. I will divide you in groups that increase my chances that at least somebody will do something. Yeah, I want to be realistic. So in your group, you choose any country, whatever you want. One of your countries, some like random country, it's easier to find the information. And for the time period, let's say 10 years, you try to estimate the GDP growth, the nominal GDP, the real GDP per capita, and actually then explain to the others what happens with the GDP, why it grows or maybe declining. So what are the reasons? What are the core facts that stimulate the growth of the GDP? The same that we did now, but with your countries. So is it clear? Okay, so you have 10 minutes for this, then you present, and then we have a break. One more. Oops, we lost somebody. That we have, okay, 4 rooms. That's like will stimulate you for a walk. So till 2:05. Okay, this time you have real discussion. That's good. Okay, so it's your turn to demonstrate and to talk. Better to demonstrate at least some numbers. Otherwise it's difficult. But you need to calculate it somehow. Okay, you're welcome. Who will be the first? Nobody wants. Why? It's okay, then we will do it in another way. Okay, we cannot start with the last room. There is Nazar. So we start with the first room. At least not you shouldn't be the first every time. So the room number 1.
So, we prepared some information.
Room number 4 is anyway, you're welcome. As soon as you are started. So
Honestly, I guess that we have Tatiana, but Tatiana is not here. Okay. So, we prepare information about Cambodia because I guess that our another team prepared information about Ukraine.
That's
So,
what I'm talking about. Yeah.
so we have some key factors for Cambodia to understand how the GDP created, in which factors. So demographics, it's some young population, median age is 26 years. Labor force is still growing, so it's support GDP growth. Economical structure strong in garments, tourism, constructions, and agriculture. Culture. Uh, so, and we have risks, climate changes like floods and droughts. Our depends on agreements and tourism, governance, and corruption. And how we understand, we prepared information like about next 10 years or past 10 years.
past 10 years.
Oh,
Oops. So you
oops.
should have like let's say the latest data is 2024 and compare the real start with the nominal GDP 2000 what 14 2024 and said the nominal GDP of Cambodia is increased for so many
The nominal GDP of Cambodia in 2015 was $18 billion USA, and in 2024 it's $24 billion USA.
so it increased in 3 times in 10 years. It's nominal GDP. Now let's assume try to understand for which extent it increased because of increase in production. For this purpose, we need to take real GDP for these 2 years.
Um,
GDP. Cambodia. Perfect. So in current, now we need in constant currency units. In constant currency units, the GDP of Cambodia in 2000, now let me demonstrate. So that's the first we said in current currency units. It was somewhere here in now in constant. 2015 it was 24 billions, and in 2020
27 or 28 or 38. 38.
38. So that means that
Here goes 20%.
no, you divided 38 to 24. That give you the growth. 38 divided 24, so it's 1.6 times it grows because of growth of production. And that's and in current units it was in 24 22 and here 46, so 10 times, yeah. No, not 10, 2 times.
Oh, that's cool for Cambodia.
And then per capita growth, GDP per capita. Okay, it's no per capita here.
But I found information like in 2015 it was 1,200, and 2024 2,000. So 1.8.
So 2 divided to 1.8. So 1 time. So it's actually grows mostly because they have more people. At least more people work. So maybe they not come to the country, but maybe just more people were working in the country. So because they have more people on this labor market. So that's what you should do. Okay, the next group. Okay, let's go from the.
We are ready, I think.
Okay, of course you are.
Just try to guess what country we choose.
It wasn't
So
Ukraine.
it was, of course. I was proposed to do some countries like Qatar, but we have what we have. Ukraine.
We had to
Waiting
choose
for.
another country. So can I share the screen?
I think
We
you
did
have.
a small presentation so you can see the numbers, because when you hear them, you can't like imagine them.
I think that you can. Yeah, all participants can share.
Okay, I'm trying to.
Yeah. So we're looking for GDP from 2014 to 2024. And here's a comparison of quantity, price, real GDP, and nominal GDP. Let's start. Yeah. That's a comparison table between 2014 and 2024. So we can see the quantity, real GDP, from 100 to 78.5. Prices, so nominal GDP, real GDP, and change versus 2014. quantity going lower, decline. Prices prices grow around in 2 times. That's 1.84, and nominal around 150. So we have prices in 2014 1.3, and for now it's 2.43.
Okay.
Let's go.
So that's actually give us the picture. Oh, you have. Okay.
Yeah, that's some of the key insights. So real output or quantity, we can call it, by the way, decreased to around 1 and of minus 22%. Price level increased by, as I said before, 2 times, and growth in nominal GDP is mainly due to price increases, not real production growth. We all know causes of this. So that's the people problem, not only in production, we don't have some products to produce, and people amount that's every year we had lower and lower percentage of work, not from online, just offline workers, and that's true things.
Yeah, exactly. So I agree that
Thank you.
for this issue, we need also, like, we can think about for which extent the amount of people influence their GDP, not a growth, but let's say decline. In general, like, so I agreed with everything, just for Ukraine, this statistic, it's also can be used. But if we want to talk about, to compare 2024 with like previous year, just from general understanding, it's better to compare like with the start of the war of full scale invasion, because in 2014, of course, we also have an action, but we don't have this scale of war. And after this, we have some period of growth. Then we mitigate like negative consequences of annexation of the territories. And in 2022, it was like new collapse from the economical perspective. So if we really want to understand what's going on, and if we have any positive dynamic in Ukraine in accordance with GDP and productivity and how people like influence the GDP growth, it's better to compare it with 2022. So it's not like your mistake, it's just general comment about how to interpret the data.
Yeah, I'm agree.
Perfect, thanks. So next group.
Maybe we can.
Ovi.
Do something. No, nobody. So, okay,
Okay, ladies first. So
okay, Andrei, you will be first.
Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
So we prepared some information about South Korea. I don't know, honestly, if it's like accurate, but never mind. So the nominal GDP has risen in 16% over the last 8 years that we have found. That means that the change in nominal GDP was 2% per year on average in South Korea. And the sectors that influenced both in different ways the formation of that GDP are exports that were the main driver of nominal GDP during 2017 and 18, when the global demand respectively was strong for them, and energy import costs actually and global slowdowns led to some lows in that growth process because of COVID and weaker demand during those years. The second point will read someone else from the group.
I'm sorry, I forgot my microphone. Real GDP inflation this year, 2015, you can see in the screen change about 11% in real terms, roughly 1 and 3% average annual real growth. Sectors influencing high and lows: manufacturing, cars, electricity, ships, and ICT services supported steady real output. The COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 caused the first contraction in besides minus 0.7%, while against population and weak contribution showed a real gain.
GDP inflation adjusted. Okay, perfect. So
in the third point, we can see that change was about 15% growth. It is 1.9% per year. High-value export industry raised national income, while global demand for chips and electronics increased average wealth. Demographics worked against per capita gains. Fewer young workers and rising elderly population means slower labor force growth. So per capita improvements came mainly from productivity rather than population expansion.
okay, so yeah.
Yes, there is a small conclusion to make that the growth in general was not like super fast, as in many developing countries lately, but the nominal GDP rose for 16% because of technology exports and the demand on the international market for them, and real GDP rose for 11%. Which was hindered by the COVID and demographical reasons, and GDP per capita rose for 15%, showing modest improvements in living standards in South Korea.
Perfect. I like ChatGPT or whatever you use. So from your
Yes, it was actually ChatGPT.
It should be that's I realize the points that you can expect. So group one question. The first, what is ITC? You use this abbreviation, not you, but whatever. In previous ICT, ICT. What is it? Somewhere in conclusion, not in maybe in previous in point 2. I don't remember. So if you use it, ICT services. What is ICT services? Who will Google first?
No, actually, there are many indicators that we don't know about. It's fair. We just found some generalized information, but there are many things that we didn't know about it.
That's actually
yet to discover.
That's why I ask you to calculate what you can interpret, because again, the next question was from me by the last conclusions, how you connect GDP per capita and a level of prosperity of the city of their people. So please, for me, it's important not you do it fast, but at least you try to do it by yourself and understand how to interpret this data. Afterwards, if you understand how to do this, you can use ChatGPT and then correct or adopt what the chat give you for your own needs. And you at least understand what it's talking about, not be just like reading, guys. But in general, it looks like pretty economical. Okay, the last group.
Okay, we also choose Ukraine as the main country, but in our presentation, but it will be like a conversation mostly. We won't present particular numbers, what is the nominal or real GPT or GPT per capita. We will shortly explain how it has changed from 2014 until 2024 year, and explain the reason why that percentage has changed. So let's start from 2014 till 2015, 2 years period. GDP increased in Ukraine by 11%. The reason is growth of export and investments, international financial assistance, and development of all sectors of industry. Then, in 2016, International Bank confirmed that in Ukraine was the end of the recession, and they indicate that the GDP has had a stable growth for around 2.3% till next 5 years. So it was pretty stable. It was pretty small amount of increasing, but still it was like a positive result. Then, unfortunately, in 2021, the war begins. And yeah, I guess now I have to pass a word to my colleagues. Alexei?
So we will talk about the year of 2021 and 2022. It's a very bad situation for Ukraine because of war. It extremely changed the situation in economic of Ukraine. It means that economy, exactly GDP, was declined by 28% because of actually war starting, which caused a step of drop in export, mass immigration of the population, and disruption of enterprise operation. But we have positive trend in GDP. It will expand in 2022 from 2022 to 2024. And this will explain. Olivia, please. I'm giving the floor to you.
Okay, in the period from 2022 to 2024, economic recovery driven by stabilization in Ukraine and external support. That's all.
Yeah, we also try to find what is the current situation, and as we understand that for last 2 years and this year as well, GDP remains at same level because we had support from international countries, but still we have some internal damage inside our country. But as we understand, it remains, it stays at the same level right now.
Perfect. Okay, so that's another point. And by the way, just want to mention that that's important now. When you look at this, you can think that for Ukraine, for now, it's a really challenge even to stay on the same level with the GDP level. Yeah, so that's not the growth. It's like extra point. Yeah, so it's important even to be on this level. So that's difficult. Okay. I promise you the break, yeah? Okay, 10 minutes break. Then I really try to make it like